think that is the key question. I think that anybody who is watching the Iran debate should look for in the Obama administration's approach to this question, because the Obama administration has a wide variety of viewpoints within it. Some favoring moderation, some favoring a much more hawkish approach. One of the strengths of the administration is that they have this diversity of perspective, and it's a credit to the president that he's done that. But there is a tendency, whenever you have this domestic divergence of opinion, to try to resolve differences by giving each side something. Give the hawks some ratcheted up sanctions and some hostile rhetoric from the Secretary of State, if not the President, and give the doves, an offer to talk and interesting concessions and so forth. And there is a danger that the result of that will be a domestic situation that is nice, but a foreign policy that just doesn't work, that's incoherent, that's too aggressive to really be diplomatic, and yet not aggressive enough to really be threatening. And so, I guess from my perspective, it's important to have a coherent strategy more than anything else. You've got to decide which you are, and then be consistent about it. And this doesn't mean unilaterally lifting sanctions, and all sanctions, including the existing sanctions. I mean, I guess my view is that the existing sanctions that are there now are sort of the backdrop against which negotiations proceed. They're not really a provocation. It's the new sanctions that this administration is responsible for, that will send a signal that is provocative or not. And if you're not sure which approach to take, and again, the question is, how do you respond to uncertainty? If you're not sure which approach to take, what strategy makes sense? And it seems to us that it's the diplomatic strategy that makes sense in the face of uncertainty, because if that fails, you can always go back to a confrontational approach later on. But if you try a confrontational approach and then get nowhere, then you don't look principled. You just look weak.
Well, we don't have any evidence right now that the Obama administration is considering coming in heavy with big-time oil and gas sanctions. I mean, that's not been talked about.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't. So far as I know, a decision hasn't been made what to do about Iran. And short of an oil embargo, there's many forms of confrontation and negative leverage short of that might be used. So I think the two things to look for are what will be their negotiating demands, and what tactics are they going to use to back those up. Do they contemplate some form of enrichment in Iran with suitable quid pro quos, or do they return to the old demand that you have to stop enrichment, not as a precondition, but down the road you have to stop enrichment?
Before we leave this topic, I just want to mention one thing on this issue. The United States has partners in these talks, and believe it or not, it may come as a surprise to some people that France, in particular, is pretty far to the right of the United States on the question of whether Iran should have any enrichment capability. So it isn't really only for the United States to decide how, if any, kind of enrichment it remains. France is hardcore opposed to any enrichment in Iran. And Britain, I don't think it's too far behind. So that is also another thing that we'll have to, understand.
Absolutely. And the United States is not alone in this. We have to reach a decision with our allies, and certainly our allies' beliefs have to be taken into account. We talked about it in the group, and our thought was, they see what's worked and what doesn't work as well. The new administration, should just sit down with our allies and talk it over, have a candid exchange of views, and jointly come up with a solution that is more likely to work. We think this is more likely to work, and that our allies will see that. And Russia and China, I think, will certainly be much more supportive of this approach than they have been of the old, more confrontational approach.
Right. Well, I do. Before we wrap things up, is there any closing thought you want to leave? People should read our respective papers.
They should read our respective papers. Yeah. This is a counterintuitive area to work in. The instinct, whenever you face a threatening or a fearful prospect, is to stand and fight and to confront. And sometimes it actually takes more courage to bargain than to shoot at anything that moves, either economically or politically. So you have to look carefully at the evidence. You have to avoid being stampeded into hasty conclusions. You have to think about what you know and don't know. You have to form policies that are rational responses to uncertainty, and that have a good chance of success, whether or not they feel intuitive or not.